Hello everyone, so we are going to do the floating static lab. So let me take Packet Tracer. We can do this lab in Packet Tracer also. I will give one scenario. So you can easily understand what is the meaning of floating static. I will take one router here. Okay, I will take one router here, and then I will take one more router here. I will take one more router here. Let me take, this is a headquarter, and I will give this name as a ISP1, and I will give ISP2. Just I am giving basic scenario. What I want to say, I have one router. Imagine my company router. I have two ISP connection. Here. I have here. I will create loop back here. Just for saying that this is a Google network. So what we are saying, this is a ISP router, and in the ISP router we have the Google 8.8.8. is nothing but Google, our Google server. We can access the Google server. So what I need to show you here, we have the internet connection. This is our company router. We are getting the route from this ISP as well as this ISP. So let me write here. I will write here this 192.168.1. Or maybe I will write 12.1 here, and here will be 192.168.12.2. This is this is not a public IP, this is private IP. Just for lab scenario I am showing you what is floating static. So I am taking one example scenario, like I have the two internet connection in my company. I want to configure one ISP as a primary, second ISP as a secondary. So how I can do? For that purpose I taken, this is a 192.168.12.1 for this interface and 12.2 for this interface. And here I can take the other one. I can write here 192.168.21.1. You can use any IP. I am using this IP here, and here I will give that one 21.2. Okay, this is a IP I am saying here. This IP I will assign this interface, this IP I will assign this interface, this IP I will assign this interface, this IP I will assign this interface. I will create loopback 0, and I will assign here that one. I will create loopback 0. I will assign the IP here for that one. Okay, so then we can check this route will get from ISP1 or ISP2. If your manager asks you, imagine you have two internet connection. Maybe this is a STC, this is a mobile. Any vendor wherever you are working, maybe Airtel or Vodafone, whatever. Imagine this is a ISP1, ISP2. You have, your manager told you keep this connection always. We want to use this connection because this is a high speed connection. We are paying more for this ISP. This is a high speed connection. This is a secondary. This is a backup link. This is a low speed connection. Okay, backup. Imagine this is a 1 Gbps, or maybe this is a 100 Mbps. So your manager told you this should be working, this should be as a standby. If this link go down, then this will start up. Okay, try to do this one by using static floating. They will say static floating. Static floating means you will configure the static route. You will configure the static route to this network and to this network, but AD value you will increase. You will increase the AD value. How you will increase the AD value? Let me write here. Check, someone write something. Yes, we need to change the AD value. So what we can do, whenever we want to configure the static route, whenever we are configuring the static route, we will give AD value. Example here 1. I will give AD value as a 5. So this route will not come in the routing table because AD value is high. Router is going to check whose AD value is low. Whose AD value is low, he is going to prefer that in the routing table. Okay, so what we can do here, we can first assign the IP address, and after that we can do the lab. Before going to that one, let me show you here theory what I write here. Floating static route. If we want to use as a static root as a backup root, we will change its AD value. We will change its AD value. So what we will do, by default AD value of a static root is 1. By default AD value for the static root is 1, and in this scenario what we will do, we will keep AD value as a 1 for this root, 5 for this one. So this will not come in the routing table. Anyhow, first of all I will configure 1 for both, and I will show you both root will come, then we will increase the AD value. So what we will do, we will take the notepad to configure this one. I will take the notepad here, one notepad, and then we will do here floating static root. We can write the here as a floating static root. This is basic only, we already learned, but anyhow this is important also for our interview. We will get this question, floating static root lab. So let me write here in our head office router, head office configuration. I will write here enable config t host name is head office, and then we will use the interface fast ethernet 0x0. I will give IP address 192.168.12.1 255.255.255.0, and then no shut, and again we have the interface fast ethernet 0x1, so I will use this one, and then I will paste this one. This is a 0x1 here, and here should be 21. As we use 21 here, this one whatever we use we give that one. Okay, so this is a R1 configuration. Now we need to write the static root, so I will write IP root as we done just now. Then network ID, I will write this one. If anyone want to go to 8.8.0.0.0 and 255.0.0.0, then forward the traffic to 192.168.12.2. okay, how I wrote this one, let me explain me again. I am saying here, if anyone want to go to this network, forward the traffic here. Okay, this is if I write here anything, like if I write 5, if I write 5 here, it will increase the AD value, but I am not writing anything here. By default we have 1 AD value, so it will come 1 AD value. This is, I wrote one static root from here to here. Okay, same thing I will do for this from here to here, this router. So let me do here, I will copy this one, I will paste this here, and here I will change this to 21. Okay, so now what we done, we configure two static root. We are saying if anyone want to go to 8.network, they can forward here and they can forward here. This is ISP1, this is ISP2. So we configure both ISP. If we paste this configuration in the router, they are going to forward the traffic to the both ISP. Okay, let me copy and paste this configuration in our head office. So I will go no here, then I will paste the configuration. Okay, we paste the configuration here. Now we can check show IP root. Okay, still it not came because we did not configure here the IP, so we will configure that IP also. So let me do the configuration in the ISP router, but in real scenario we will not do anything in the ISP router. ISP1 configuration. So what is the configuration here? Also same thing, you write ISP1 as a host name, and the interface fast ethernet 0x0, and the IP address 192.168.12.2 255.255.255.0. then we will write no shut here. Okay, and we will create one more loopback here. I will write here interface loopback 0, and we will give IP address 8.0.0.0 255.25/8 we give, so 0.0. This is ISP1. Okay, let me check, someone write something here. Yeah, nothing. So I will copy this configuration and we will write for the ISP2 also. This is ISP2, so ISP2 here, ISP2, this is ISP2, this is a 21. Okay, so I think this is okay. all configuration is same, right? Let me copy and paste here in the ISP1. I will go in the ISP1 and I will paste here. I will say no, and then we will paste the configuration in the ISP1. So everything is good, no issue here. I hope no issue. We can check show IP route. If you see what we have here, show IP interface brief, we have loopback 0. We did not assign the IP here, or what? Maybe something wrong here. What we get, IP address, then why IP did not came for the loopback 0? Let me assign the IP address again. Let's see, config t interface loopback 0, IP address 8.0.0.0.255.0.0.0. What issue we are getting? IP bad subnet mask. We write here okay, I am defining all network, or we can define any IP also. Same error we get here, right? Here nothing came here, or what? Bad subnet mask, here nothing. 12.0 and 8.0. Lab purpose I am assigning this IP, but in the real scenario we have the complete IP. But anyhow, what I can do, I can write here interface loop. First of all, let me check what we have in the configuration. I will write show run. If I see here, okay, this interface is having 12.2 and loopback is not having anything. Yeah, loopback is not having anything. Anyhow, let me take 32 because in the real scenario we have 32 here. So I will take 32. So it will be easy for everyone. In the real scenario you will get 32 only. So let me do here. This is a ISP1, right? So let me configure here interface loopback 0 IP address. I will give here 8.8.8.8. Even without 32 also we can give here. Let me show you. In our lab purpose we can use anything. The problem here, what I type here, I type network ID, that's why it is giving the error. If you see here, we need to write complete 8. I write 00. Our IP should not be 00. That's why we get the error bad mask. So what I can do, I need to give complete IP like this. I need to write complete IP. I write 800 by mistake. That's why it is not accepting. So anyhow, now I will take this one, so it will accept. Okay, so we have the IP here, show IP interface brief. By mistake what I done here, I put 8.0.0.0. I put network ID, but this is the IP address. We are assigning the IP address. So IP should not be 000 like this. Okay, so now we assign this IP here, and now we will do the same configuration for the other router also. So let me go and see here. This should be 8.8.8. This is a IP, not the any network ID. So this should be 8 and this should be 8. So now I will take this whole and I will copy and paste in the this other router. So I will go in the CLI, I will go here, write no, and then we will paste this configuration. So everything is good here, no error, nothing. We can check here show IP route. Okay, show IP route and show IP interface brief. So we have the interface, all are up. This is a 2 ISP. And now let's see, we can check here, we done the static route here before, so we can write here show IP route. If you see, we are getting the static route. If you see, we are getting 8.0.0.8/network from the two interface, from the two different subnet, from the 2 ISP. If you want in more clear, I will write static. So what I want to show you, I did not change the ID value. I did not change the ID value, so that's why we have the ID value as a 1 here. Administrative distance we are calling. AD is nothing but administrative distance. Whoever is having the low AD value, that route is going to come in the routing table. Okay, that route is going to come in the routing table. We have AD value as 1 for both. That's why this guy came inside the routing table. This is a ISP1, this is a ISP2. They will do the load balancing. One packet will send here this ISP, one packet will send to this ISP. They will do the load balancing. If you want to check how we can check, we can write trace route 8.8.8.8. It will go to the ISP1 and then it will go to the ISP2. So we don't want to use that one. So what we will do, we will increase the ID value here. So when we increase the ID value, this will become as a backup route. So if we are increasing the ID value and keeping this route as a backup, that is nothing but floating static. We are calling that as a floating static. If you see here what we have in our notes, if we want to use as a static route as a backup route, we have to change its AD value. To make the static route as a backup route, it is when we change the ID value, it is known as floating static route. So we done here scenario. Now we did not increase the AD value. That's why these both entry is coming in the routing table. I want to go to this network. If this is a IP for google.com, I am getting Google from this ISP as well as from this ISP. But my manager told me to keep this ISP as a primary. So if anyone want to access the internet, that all traffic will go to this ISP, not this ISP. So he told me to do as a floating static. Means he want to ask me to increase the ID value of this static route. So this will be the backup static route. If this network go down, automatically this route will come in the routing table. But I did not increase the ID value. That's why both routes are there in our routing table. So what we will do, we will increase the AD value. How we can increase? Let me first of all write here this one. So just I will go here, I will write here 5. Okay. So what I will do, I will remove the entry. First of all, I will write here show run. I will write here, let me write here show run. And if you see here the configuration, we have this one. I don't need this one. Okay. So what I will do, I will copy this entry and then I will paste. I will go in the global configuration mode. I will write no and I will paste this entry. Okay. So this is removed now. Now I need to put this again. So what I will do, I will put this again. I will give space. I will write here 5. Okay. I will give here 5. Now if you check the routing table, this entry will be removed. If I write show IP route static, you see now we have only one entry from the ISP1 only. Okay. Why? Because we keep this one as a backup. ISP2 we keep as a backup. Okay. Floating static. Keeping one static route as a floating one means keeping as a backup. That is known as floating static. If you want, you can check here show run and see here. You have the ID value change here. Okay, you change the ID value. This guy is having ID value 1, this one is having 5. And when you check here, when you write here show IP route static, you have this entry and he is having the ID value as 1 here. Okay, and if we check here ping 8.8.8.8, it is working, ping is working. And if you say like trace route 8.8.8.8, it is going from the only first ISP 12.2. Okay, it is going to 12.2. What I will do now, I will make the, not this one, I will make this ISP down. Okay, imagine this ISP go down. How it will go down? I will go to the interface fast Ethernet 0 by 0. I will make shut this one. I make this interface down. Automatically from your routing table that route will be removed and the other route will be there. How you can check? You can write here show IP route static. If you see AD value change 5 and you are getting from the ISP2 192.168.21.2 is a ISP2. So what you done, when this ISP connection go down, automatically this ISP connection will start working in your routing table. How you configure this one? By using the floating static route, that is nothing but just increasing the AD value. Okay, you increase the AD value. If you want to check now trace route, it is going from the second ISP 21.2. okay, and if you want to ping, it will work from the second ISP. Imagine this guy come up again, this guy ISP connection came up again. Now if you check again this one trace route, it will show you, it will take some time. Let me ping again. It is going from the ISP1 because ISP1 come back, right? And if you want to check here again, you have this 80 route with the IP address, this AD value as 1, and this is ISP1. So automatically it is switching. Automatically it is switching. What I am saying, when this network go down, automatically we have this route in our routing table. When this network come up, automatically this route is removing with the help of floating static. Just remember, giving the static route as a backup is nothing but floating static. If you see, if I increase the ID value, then it will become as a floating static. So in our notes, what I done, I configure RIP and I configure the static route. I increase the ID value here. So when we check, RIP is having the ID value as 120, but static route I increase the ID value as 130. So when RIP is not working, that time static route is working here. Okay, but now in our scenario, just now what we discussed, I use 2 ISP, and in this scenario we make one ISP as a primary, second ISP as a secondary. This ISP is having the low internet speed, this ISP is having the high bandwidth, high speed. So we always prefer this one, but if any issue with this ISP, automatically our network will switch to the ISP2 with the help of floating static route. Okay, so if anyone asks you in interview, you can define the scenario, you can write, you can give some points. Floating static route is a route that has the high administrative distance than the current route in the routing table. And if you don't know AD value, I will share that notes also about the AD value. Okay, so let me stop this recording.